If you feel restricted right now, it's not a good place to be. If you feel like your hands are bound, your feet are bound, it's not a good place to be. God is pulling his people out of confinement, out of the restriction. I don't know what it is that's blocking you. I don't know what it is that's stopping you, what hurdle is before you, what wall. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's caused by your confidence. Maybe it's a lack of faith. Maybe it's because of something that someone said to you. I don't know what exactly is restricting you, but it's time to come away from that restriction, that thing that's holding you back, believer. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a mindset, maybe it's your attitude, maybe it's just where you choose to be that's restricting you, my friend, and what you choose to believe. Show God the place of your restriction. Show him where you feel restricted. Show him where you are restricted the most, because the Lord is pulling his people out of the restriction. Provision is made, believer, for you. And sometimes because things are not available to us, we feel like we're restricted. Maybe because the resources aren't there, maybe no one to help us. And as such, we feel restricted. But God is pulling us out of restriction of the mind. There are times when the blockages are removed and we still feel restricted. There are times when the walls are down and we still feel restricted. After the years of being in restriction, we still feel restricted even though we're free. You have to ensure that you search your surroundings, because God is moving and God is releasing his people, because you could feel restricted when there is no restriction. Come away from the restriction. Come away from the setback and the delay and the blockage and whatever it is that you feel is holding you back. Come away from it. Come, show God where the obstacle is, where you have put up the wall. Show him what is there before you that's holding you back. Show him that restriction. It could be your lack of confidence, as I said, and your lack of faith. It could be a mind thing. It could be an attitude thing. Whatever is restricting you, you serve a God who is unlimited. Show him where you're limited. You serve a God who is infinite. Show him where you're finite. Show him where you're not able to, so that he can help you to. And sometimes that's what we're afraid, why we're afraid to do that which the Lord has called us to do, because of the place of restriction that we have found ourselves in. You feel like you don't have enough, you don't have everything, and you're not capable enough. Sometimes it's our inability that's holding us back. Sometimes it's what someone said about you or said to you that's holding you back, and what you believe about yourself. The restriction doesn't have to restrict you. Paul and Silas found themselves in a prison cell, and they praised their way out. Hallelujah. Because they decided that they won't stay in that restricted area. Not when I serve a God who is able to shake this prison cell, break the chains from off me. And that's exactly what happened. Because the Lord will pull his people out of restriction, whatever area of your life. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's something that you've put yourself in, maybe it's a mindset, whatever it is that's restricting you. Come away from it. Let the Lord, show the Lord where you're restricted. Show him the restriction, the thing that's holding you back. Let him swing the prison door open and break the bars of restriction from you. God is pulling his people out of limitation, out of setback, out of restriction. God, to do that which he has called you to do. To do that which he has called you to do. Provision is made, believer. Come out of restriction. The Lord told Nehemiah to build a wall, to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. And Nehemiah told the king, and the king said, "What do you want me to do?" Let me tell you something. Sometimes we think that we're restricted because we don't have the resources. The Lord will connect you with people who have the resources to help you. Nehemiah couldn't get it done by himself. So the Lord allowed him the king to find favor with him and helped him to get all the resources, horsemen, everything he needed to rebuild that wall. Glory be to God. The Lord is going to make provision in your place of restriction. You better show him where you're restricted, because if he has called you to it, he's going to make provision even when you feel restricted. Come away from the restriction. Pull yourself out of it, because the Lord wants you to be moving and doing that which he has called you to do. Come on, believer. Sometimes it's a mind thing. And if you begin to change your mindset and renew your mind, you realize you're not as restricted as you said you are. Because the Lord is making provision in that restriction. The Lord is making a way in that restriction. The Lord is making a way for you. No matter how restricted you feel, there is a way that's being made for you. He's going to work on the hearts of kings just to get you where you ought to be. The king said to Nehemiah, what is it you want me to do? In other words, I'm available to do anything you want me to do, just to get you some help to rebuild that wall. Whatever the Lord has called you to, he has made a provision for it. Your unlimited God, your God who is able to do exceeding abundantly above all you can ask or even imagine, is saying, come away from that restriction. Come away from that restriction, believer. You're not restricted as you think you are, because God is with you, and he knows how to pull his people out of restriction where your hands feel bound, your feet feel bound, your mind feel bound. Come away from that restriction.